The twins ran that part of London like an iron rod. There was nothing that went on in that East End that they didn't know about. If there was a wrongdoing, get off the manor, because they would come down on you like a ton of bricks.
Welcome back to another Kray video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any videos. And for people really interested in the Krays, check out our private Facebook group, Krays, Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly and moderated group which has been running since January 2018. Please come and give us a try.
In the 1960s, the London underworld was run by two gangs, the Krays in the East End, and, south of the river, me and my brother Eddie, the Richardsons. When the two rival firms trespassed into each other's manor, it meant trouble. My name is Charlie Richardson, and in 1967, I was convicted on charges of violence, fraud and extortion at an Old Bailey trial, during which the judge described me as a disgrace to society. I got sentenced to 25 years in prison, but was actually released in 1984. This is my story, told in my own words. I will talk of the world I inhabited, some businesses above board and others less so. Involvement with gaming clubs, drinking clubs, the motor trade and strip clubs. I will also talk about mafia connections and friends in the government. My network was very wide indeed. I will tell of all this, of my eventual arrest and, bitterly, my trial. I will speak of the years in Durham and Wandsworth jails and what I learned there. I will reveal all about my escape and the chance encounter which had me back in prison for the final 3.5 years. I will discuss all of my business interests and associates of today. Some of them may find it uncomfortable listening. This isn't a pretty story, but it's a riveting one, and I have much to say on the subject of British justice. We're back to my school days again. To me and my friends in our boys' own world of boxing and thieving, girls were almost like a church roof you stole the lead from. They were primarily there to provide a source of boasting and mischief. There were always older boys who made such great claims to voyages of discovery with girls. Most of it was wishful thinking. Smoking cigarettes and being able to inhale up to 1/4 inch of nicotine was one thing. But the real best adult experience was to be found with girls. One boy claimed that he had done it with a girl who lived down our street, but that he had gone up the wrong bleeding hole. At the time we all laughed, and he was famous for 5 minutes, but it only showed how ignorant we really were of the ins and outs of anatomy. I was concerned to keep up with the rest of the lads, and like them, made up stories about local girls who were actually completely Virgo intacta and innocent. A girl could get a reputation without ever setting foot outside her own doorstep. In the end, I did get to be very curious about the unique thrill you get just from seeing bits of girls, let alone touching them or doing it. I decided to investigate further. One day, at the start of the dinner break, when some kids ran home and some opened little packets of sandwiches, I took a deep breath and walked up to Rita Bartlett, who for the first time in weeks was all on her own. I had no real problem talking to girls when my motives were otherwise, but now I had to go into the uncharted waters of seduction. It made me shy, which made her suspicious. I said a nervous hello, and she looked at me cautiously and replied, "I haven't got any sandwiches left, Charlie, and I haven't got any money, and anyway, Mr. Patterson's on duty today." This all came out in a rush. The latter part of her speech was supposed to frighten me off, since Patterson was an evil pig whose main pleasure in life was beating little children. Her suspicion of me grew when I said I just wanted to talk to her, but I had a reputation at school, despite, or perhaps because of the fact that I was hardly ever there, and she was, against her will, curious. I found it very difficult to talk to her, though, beyond telling her that I saw her mum at the Oval last week, but it kept the conversation going, just about, and threw Rita off the scent for a bit. The scent was, in fact, Rita's tits. She was not very good looking compared with some of the girls in her class, but she was way ahead of them in the old breast development stakes. Where other girls were as flat-chested as me, Rita definitely had 2 burgeoning mounds. It made her a target for all sorts of the usual abuse from boys, but it also made her an object of desire. What was more, whereas the other girls had gained completely unearned reputations for being goers, Rita had entered local adolescent mythology for being a tough nut to crack, who never gave in despite all concerted attempts to rub her chest. Any boy who could get the others to believe that he had handled Rita's not-so-little golden delicious was destined to be written into local history. Lots had tried, many much smoother than me. She had been flattered by their attention, but her blouse remained unopened, and despite idle boasts to the contrary by the teenage studs, was still intact. All sorts of methods, including force, had been tried, but Rita was strong and would fight as if her life depended on it. I had a much more sophisticated method in mind, and I put my proposal to her that day. She took a step back, startled by my suggestion. "What? You'll give me half a crown for a quick flash?" "Yeah. You'll have to make it about 30 seconds, though. You must have seen it all before. What's so special about mine?" The answer to that was nothing, really, but it was a decoy to win her trust. I knew she would be surprised. Her tits is what she was known for. I confessed to her that the boys just boasted and lied, that most of us had never seen it before. She laughed, and just for authenticity, I said that if she told anybody, I would give her a punch in the mouth. We went behind a wall in the school grounds, and she took a week's paper round money from me. I thanked her, and while she went back to school, I had an important date with some lid on a roof. A week or so later, I sought her out again and asked her if I could have a repeat performance for $1. It was a reduced rate because it was not the first time. She liked what was rapidly becoming a new source of income. We went behind the wall and she knelt and got into position. I looked while she counted 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. At 30,000, she got up and got dressed. I did this for 4 weeks running, and Rita was getting richer and richer. It became a routine that I think she almost enjoyed. On the 5th week, I took a chance and asked Rita, "Can I have another look under your blouse, and this time have a quick feel?" She had become used to the extra money. Without a word, she unbuttoned her cardigan and her blouse and pulled them aside. I held my breath. She looked to one side while I stared intently at the source of so much fantasy and speculation, frustration, and teenage dreams. I stared harder and harder at the growths with their little pink ends, hoping that something would suddenly happen to me. I knew I was supposed to be excited by those twin molehills of pale, pointy flesh with their blue veins and thin skin, but nothing happened. By the time we got to 12,000, I was bored and reached out a hand to see how they felt. For a few seconds, she did not seem to notice, but then by about 18,000, she opened her eyes and realized that I had a hand over each of her assets. I wanted my money's worth, and I held on, determined to learn what all the fuss was all about. I was never to know. As we tussled on the ground, a huge roar went up behind me. "Richardson!" It was Mr. Patterson, the geography monster who hated all kids, especially me. He was beside himself with rage. While Rita burst into tears and ran off before stopping and remembering to ask for her 3 shillings, Patterson dragged me by the hair into the building. He was screaming and spitting, totally out of control. Lots of the kids stopped to watch, and plenty had seen Rita run off, unbuttoned. My achievement was at least registered. Patterson dragged me into the nearest classroom, still holding onto my hair and pulling me close to him. I gagged on the smell of chalk and boiled cabbage that clung to his faded, frayed check jacket. He threw me into the room and grabbed his cane. His rage had the edge of a perverted, frustrated old man who watched us change after games on the pretext that he had to make sure we washed properly. All of that pent-up frustration was unleashed on me as he grabbed my hand and held it out. He put all his strength into 6 whacks on my right hand. I did not flinch or even register each stroke, but stared at him, enjoying the power of overcoming the pain. He hit harder each time and was driven to complete madness by my lack of reaction. He grabbed my hair, threw me over the teacher's desk at the front of the classroom, and still shouting at me like a man possessed, he started to whack my backside with whatever adrenaline he could muster. I turned my face to see a whole gang of kids fighting for a view at the door and faces pressed against the windows from the playground. I was humiliated by my position and maddened by his ridiculous reaction to a harmless and expensive grope behind a wall. On the 6th stroke, I could sense he was about to break the rules and give me more. He was out of control. He had been ranting on that I was about to turn out like my dad, a useless, good-for-nothing jailbird and disgusting womanizer. I was a filthy, filthy molester like him. That was enough. Before he could lay another stroke on me, I jumped up and the cane fell out of his hand. I grabbed it and held it ready to strike him. He was astonished, and seeing the look on my face, he suddenly got control of himself and his voice returned almost to normal. He held out his hand and tried to negotiate. "Right then, Richardson, you've had enough. Give me the cane, lad, don't be silly," he added. "Come on now, you've caused enough trouble. Come on, let's have it." Everybody waited a few seconds, watching to see what I would do. I looked at the man in front of me, twice my size, and thought of something witty and clever to say. Then I said it, "Fuck off, you old cunt." And I laid into him with the cane. He crouched and raised his arms to protect himself. I shouted out the strokes and aimed for whatever part of him I could hit, mostly the back of his hands and his head. When I had counted to 11, I threw the cane at him and walked out of the room. The awestruck crowd parted silently as I made my way out of school. It had been a fruitful afternoon, which had earned me 2 entries into the local history books. I had gazed upon Rita's hidden assets and had given old Patterson a taste of his own medicine. Bring back the birch. It's all they understand. Definitely. Give me a few whacks on the arse any day, rather than one whiff of an approved school, remand center, or prison. I would rather limp for a few days while the wounds healed than shit in a bucket, eat cold porridge, or share a cell with other men. I had an early start in the courtroom drama game show, which had its advantages. You learn very quickly when you are young, especially new languages. I was in court for the book theft job when I got probation. That had almost worked because it upset my mom and grandparents so much that I tried really hard to be a good little boy from then onwards. I helped my grandfather with his gold leaf book covers job, but I soon got bored. I helped my grandmother in the shop, but after a while, I really wanted a bit of excitement. I had developed a real fascination for scrap and metals generally. I loved keeping up with the changing prices for the various types of scrap, Lead was always very good and so easy to nick. You could tear it off a roof like soft, thin toffee. The problem was its weight. Transporting it was difficult because of my age. Usually I would borrow a horse and cart from a Fagin fence who bought the scrap from me at a fraction of the price he got from the scrap yards. I used to feel very exposed, going down the street with an open wagon loaded with stolen lead and covered only by an old blanket that really looked as if something dodgy lay beneath it. Sometimes it was during the week when I should have been at school. One day, I discovered tons of lead on the roof of the post office at Camberwell Green. I kept the find to myself and, working through the night, stripped a lot of it and hid it in a disused cellar. A few days later, I arranged to borrow a horse and cart to get the load to the fence I dealt with. On my way to see him, I bumped into another boy who was a couple of years older than me. Pete Buckley was a bit of a lad and a well-known local lead thief. Because he was older than me, I boasted to try and impress him about my precious load. Pete told me about another fence, Mr. Allen, who gave kids a better deal on scrap lead. But what seemed even more important was that he had a van. I decided to go to Mr. Allen with the idea that we load up the stuff in his van. An hour later, Allen and I were working up a sweat outside the cellar. He was excited by the amount of lead I had found and congratulated me as if I had written an excellent essay at school. A minute or two later, a police car drew up and 4 coppers jumped out. They ran towards us and caught Alan immediately, but I ran across the post office roof and got away. When I returned home, the police were waiting and my mother was in a state. I promised her and them that it was not me, but they seemed very confident that it was. An hour later, at the police station, I found out why. Pete Buckley had written a statement saying I'd done it. The little bastard had made a deal with the police. They stuck to their end of the bargain. In court, they said he was a poor lad taken in and influenced by me. A Catholic priest and his doting parents were paraded in front of the court, who said how wonderful he was, such a good Christian and a real help at home. The little toe rag had been nicking lead before I even had hair on my balls. He was given a conditional discharge and I was remanded to a shithole in Shepherd's Bush while reports were made. I was put on probation. I remember looking at Pete in court in disbelief. I really couldn't understand how he could save his own skin by grassing me up. There was nothing unusual about my attitude. Loyalty to a group is not confined to criminals. In wartime, if you give information to the enemy, you are a traitor and will hang for it. Doctors and teachers stick together like a herd of gazelle being chased by a lion. Freemasons do not grass on each other, and neither do criminals. Loyalty was the bedrock of our community. The police and authorities represented the enemy. No matter what was going on, you only joined forces with the other side at your peril. And that brings us to the end in this part. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you again in the next one.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.
Leave a like and subscribe.